Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and this is episode 148, and it's called The Turn, and this one's for Gemma. The crier had been shouting that an important announcement would be read at the ringing of the city's noon bells. He'd started this the night before and had continued this heralding regularly and throughout the city until everyone knew to be in the central square. John Becker told his apprentice Timothy late that morning, "I'll go and see what the to-do is all about. If it's anything you need to know, I'll tell you. Just keep working on that bit of maple until it's ready for me." His apprentice nodded and pumped away with his legs to keep the lathe turning, and put the blade of the wood to work it down. John wiped his face and neck with a rag, dropped it in the rag bin, grabbed his hat, and stepped out of his shop. He then entered his house only a few steps away. "Madeline," he called. She was knitting and looked over. "I'm going to see what the royals have to say." "Okay," she replied. "Do you want a cup of water before you go?" He smiled. "That would be most welcome," he said. He took a long time to drink it, but then he gave the cup back to Madeline and made his way to the square. The spring weather was beautiful, calm and clear, warm at midday, but with a sweet breeze that often carried the scent of flowers or of grass, which was growing so fast with the wet March that the reapers were already doing a cutting. As he walked by, he touched his hat in greeting many times. Everyone knew where to get the best wooden implements in the city, at his shop. He was proud of his work. He had timed it well. A crowd was gathering when he arrived. The crier was now shouting above the crowd that the announcement would happen soon. His voice sounded quite hoarse. John thought that the man would be happy to be finished with his job. There was a carriage nearby, parked by a wall so it had some shade. It had a royal crest on the side, though not the usual one. It was, John saw, the one for the Betts, who had long been denied the throne. The church bells rang out. A man dressed in fine clothes climbed to the top of the carriage. He was holding a heralding trumpet. He put it to his mouth and blasted a few notes. The crowd quieted. The carriage opened, and another man, dressed even finer than the man with the trumpet, emerged. Without a word, he walked with dignity to the public stage, which was a simple wooden platform a few steps up for performers to get above the crowd. He held a scroll under his arm. When he had mounted the stage and seen that he had the attention of the crowd, he took the scroll out from under his arm and unrolled it. "King Charles the 13th is dead, as are all his heirs. Charles the 14th of the Betts line has taken the throne. Expect there to be changes to local leaders and constabulary." And that was it, the whole announcement. The man, who never even gave his name, rolled up the scroll, turned on his heel, and returned to the carriage, which took off, presumably to the next town. The crowd was muttering to itself. All his heirs? Charles the 13th had 3 sons and 10 grandchildren. They were all dead? It had to be a coup, a massacre. John decided he would find out no more here. He turned and walked swiftly back to his home. "Madeline," he said as he opened the door, "we have a problem." She looked at him. She was still in her chair knitting. "What is it?" "There's been a shake-up. Charles the 14th of the Betts has taken the throne." Madeline stared at him. "Then that means trouble." "Yes. I was 27th in line. I assume that Charles the 13th's sons and grandchildren are all dead. That means I'm still 14th, as the Betts line is quite removed. This also assumes they haven't killed anyone else ahead of me in line." "What happens now?" "Now? I go into hiding." "What?" "There are 2 choices open to me. I seek to find who the rightful king is, and if I am he, then I try to ascend the throne, or I go into hiding and allow the Betts line to take over. But I have no wealth, no power. I'm the surviving son of a second son of a 4th son. While I have a title, there are no lands or money attached to it. I'd be going against an army of Betts followers who would kill me as soon as my attempted claim became known. Or I quietly closet myself away and wait until it's safe again. I don't know if it will ever be fully safe, but I think at some point there'll be a moment where the Betts are secure enough in their power not to care what other claims to the throne come from the 13th's line. So you what, closet yourself in a tower until then? More or less. And leave it up to chance whether the bets hunt you down or not. Should I simply live out in the open and hope I'm not suddenly stabbed in the back one evening? This is mad. These times are mad. And what will we do? I will come back to you and Timothy as soon as it's safe. By we, I didn't mean Timothy. John froze. You going to have a baby? We are going to have a baby, yes. John thought about this. Then the baby is in danger as well, doubly so if a boy. Then what is the plan? No one in this town knows my background. I changed my name and didn't use my title when I came here. I wanted a fresh start, which seems very fortunate now. So the danger can't come from here. The danger comes if someone from my past talks where I grew up. Some of them have a general idea of where I was going to go. They were close to me, and they won't volunteer the information, but if the bets come calling with torture or threats to their family, they will give up my location. Are you going to go back to your childhood home and find out if they know? John shook his head. Too dangerous. No. I'll set up a separate house here in town. I'll take some of the tools and set up a shop. Timothy will act as your helper, and he can also continue working on his skills with the tools I leave here. We will make ourselves seem estranged. Won't we be estranged? Only physically. You say that as though it's simple. I'll visit you when I can. Likely at night. We can't make it seem as though you were a lover to be used against me. They will kill you. And try not to make it widely known that you are with child. This is intolerable. Intolerable or not, I don't see any other way to have a chance of keeping us safe. Hopefully they won't track me down at all. But if they do, I will have made it clear to everyone where I live now, and they hopefully will simply come and kill me. Or if I'm very lucky, simply sign something abdicating any rights to the throne. Then, hopefully, they will not investigate further and discover that I, in turn, might have an heir myself. But how long will this last? John looked at her belly, which showed no signs yet. I may never be completely safe, but when you have the baby, it will be time for me to rejoin you. If they haven't tracked me down in some half a year, they likely won't come for me at all. You think. I hope. And that's the story. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, and thanks for listening. Words and music, copyright 2020, CryptoBiography, LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.